Hey everyone, let's more people join in. My hair is not giving what I wanted to give today. I'm like sweaty, so it keeps getting poofy up here. Anyways, hope everybody's well. Okay, so today I just want to give some tips on asking questions in a psychic reading. And when I say psychic reading, that to me is including tarot readings. It's including other forms of divination. Could mean it. I'm not specifically focusing on whether somebody's using divination tools or not using divination tools, etc. So the first tip I want to give is kind of keep it realistic. And what I mean by that is for example, if you're single and you're not dating anybody, or even if you're dating someone, but if you're single, you're not currently in a committed relationship to where there's been a title put on it, it's been explained, asking when will I get married is not really the next realistic question to ask. Maybe a more realistic question would be, when would I be in a committed relationship? Or if you're in a committed relationship, when will I get engaged? You know, kind of think of it in terms of the actual sequence of how things would need to take place in order for you to get there. Similar so, if you are asking about a job, right? But you haven't even interviewed yet, or maybe you haven't even filled out the application yet. Asking, will I get the job, when you haven't actually done the groundwork, it kind of isn't really the most realistic thing. Maybe apply first and then ask maybe how will the interview go. If you do the interview, then ask, will I get the job? Things like that are what I mean by examples. Also, understand how to ask questions, and especially if there is a number requirement. Like what I mean by that is if you're ordering a 1-question reading, for example, and you're asking, are they going to contact me and also commit to me and also things improve? You know, those are different questions that you just tied in with the word and separating it. So if you have to ask a question, if you're asking a question and you have to use words like and, or, if so, also, in addition, that means that what you're saying after that is going to be a whole separate question. So if you're getting a 1-question reading, don't ask, when will I move? No, sorry, bad example. Don't ask, am I going to move? And when? That's 2 different questions. Am I going to move is 1 question by itself. When is a whole different question by itself. So, for example, a lot of the time, you know, you'll see, especially if you order my website, it's set up to where it says 1 to 3 questions or 1 to 5. That means you can ask as little as minimum as 1 or as many as 5 if that's the one you ordered, or as many as 3 if that's the one you ordered. So you have to be mindful of the actual number of questions if there is a requirement. So, like, for example, if you're asking about multiple options, right? If you're asking about, let's say you're thinking of moving, right? And you're like, which city is best for me? To you, you're thinking it's 1 question, but you're listing a whole bunch of different cities. Each city is a whole different energy to look into, so therefore those would all be different questions. So you're like, which city would be best for me? And then you're like Los Angeles versus something else, you know. Those are actually 2 different questions. If you're like, what do my coworkers think of me? To you, you're thinking that's one question, but it's actually not. Because all of your coworkers are different people with different energies, with different thoughts. So each person would be a whole different question. So kind of keep those in mind. Or like if you're asking something about your children, but it's plural children, those are all different energies, which each children will be a whole different question, a different energy. So learning to ask questions is really important. I tend to try to help people like narrow it down that kind of don't understand. Like if you're asking, are my children going to do well in school? I can look at the general collective, but it doesn't mean specifically that every single one might do well or not, because those are all different energies. So a lot of the time I'll get people that will ask questions that are like, is so-and-so going to come back to me, or are they going to choose blah, blah, blah? Those are two different questions. You get what I'm saying? You have to learn how to phrase things a little bit better. Another thing is thinking in terms of spirit language. What I don't know if that's an actual thing, but I'm going to call it spirit language. So, for example, questions like, do we have a future? Those are things that spirit, like, it's not the best phrased question. Because, yes, you have a future unless you transition today. You know what I'm saying? It just may not be, or maybe it is, the kind of future you're looking for. Or maybe you have a future of still being separate. Or maybe you have a future of things still being inconsistent. Or maybe you have a future of things still being off and on. So certain questions, the way they're phrased, don't really make sense. When it's like, do we have a future? Yes, I know what you mean by saying that. What you're actually asking is, are we going to still be together, for example? Or is this the person that I end up with, is, for example, something that you want to know? But even still, questions like that can still be problematic, because end up with at which time frame in life, you know what I'm saying? Because there's no such thing as an outcome, really, being that energy is always changing. You can have like an outcome or for this segment of life, but then there's a whole new segment of life in another chapter, which may or may not look the same. So when you ask questions, it kind of helps more so to think of it where there's room for growth, or where there's room for change, or room for interpretation. Meaning, when I say interpretation, meaning letting spirit fill in the blanks as you live life, living into the answers. Maybe a better question, saying, instead of saying, will we end up together, is just keeping it open. Where do you see things headed in this amount of time? And just take it as that and let that play out. Because things change in life day to day. The future's not set in stone. So your choices in the present moment are continuously creating your future. What you're thinking, what you're doing, what you're believing, your actions. These are creating the future. And people forget that. They'll get a reading and think, oh, the psychic said this, but then they make a certain choice that can alter their path, not realizing that they just changed the whole thing. Or if you haven't worked on yourself to deal with certain anxieties or things like that, then you could self-sabotage things energetically through the law of attraction. So there's a whole lot to consider. Let me just see what you guys are saying. That makes so much sense. Yay, thank you. How about, is dating this person romantically at this time? Would dating this person romantically at this time be in my highest good? Yes, that's a good way of phrasing a question. Like being specific, but also leaving room. Yeah, that's a very good way that you phrase that question. Another thing is, I do not recommend asking a psychic, is this the one? Or are they meant for me? Nobody can tell you who's meant for you. You have to know that. You have to decide that. And typically the rule of thumb is, if you have to even ask the question, then they're probably not at this time. Because when your person comes in, you don't really question it. You know it, you feel it, and also they're showing you through their actions and their words, that they're on the same page. Who's for you will be on the same page with you, and they will show you, they will tell you, they will express it. And just, again, keeping in mind, energy is always changing, future's not set in stone. So someone may not be for you at this time, but 10 years later, maybe they are. Maybe energy has shifted, or vice versa. Maybe they were for you, a match at that stage in life, but then life happened. There was a big grief experienced or loss, for example. The relationship changed, and now they're no longer for you. Can you still choose to try to make something work with someone who may not be your vibrational match at that time? Yes, people do it all the time, every day. But it's just kind of being a little bit more open-minded in terms of trusting yourself even to navigate. Like, you can get a reading as a navigation tool, but ultimately you have to decide who's for you, what's for you, what works for you, and what the pros and cons are for you. Don't leave it up to somebody else to tell you, yeah, this is the one for you. Like, you should be able to navigate that and have the discernment to navigate that on your own. That's just my belief. I don't believe in telling people, yes, this person is the one for you or they're meant for you. I'll tell you what I see as far as where things may be headed, and you can make the educated choice from there on what you want to do next with that person given the information. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, stop looking for definites, like definite answers from psychics, because future is not set in stone. We cannot guarantee you anything. So if someone's guaranteeing you something in a reading, that is kind of a red flag, because energy is always changing. Like I'm saying, future's not set in stone, and your choices influence things. So when people ask things like, are we going to get married? The answer can be maybe yes or no based upon what's coming through right now, but energy is always changing. What I like to do is say, based upon what's going on here right now, I either do see it heading down that path or not. But I don't like to say, yeah, for sure, you're going to get married, because energy is always changing. Something could happen and somebody could self-sabotage it altogether, between now and then. Another thing is, there are certain questions that you have to remember that the reader's experiences may influence and impact their view around it. Like, for example, when you ask somebody, do they love me? Love is a subjective thing. People have different definitions of what love is, what it acts, what it feels like. So if you're asking me, do they love me? I'm going to look at it from the lens of what I view and believe love to be. It may be different than yours. You see what I'm saying? So, and also in remembering that love is an energy, it's a frequency. So sometimes I may say, looking at it from the lens of love as a frequency or an energy, I can answer that. Like, for example, if someone keeps cheating on you and you ask, do they love me? That doesn't really feel like a frequency of love. It feels more like a frequency of someone who has some emotional attachment issues or some other wounds that need to be healed, to where they keep looking for validation outside of themselves and outside of the relationship. So it doesn't really read as love to me. You know what I'm saying? So there's certain things that you have to remember, that there are different ways of viewing things. Like success, for example. Your definition of success could be different than mine. So if you're asking, will I be successful, according to whose definition and according to which terms? So if you're going to ask something like that, maybe you say, like, am I going to be successful? By that, what I mean is, will I get a raise? That kind of clears it up a little bit more in terms of what version of success you're looking for, or things like that. But when asking, does somebody love me? That's kind of different, because there can be forms of love but it can still be toxic. Like a child who loves their a child who loves a parent who's abandoned them and has substance issues. You know, they may not be the best parent to them, but that child still loves them, even though it's toxic. It doesn't mean that the love that they're getting back is necessarily the healthiest. So it's just kind of a lot to keep in mind when you're asking questions. And just remembering that sometimes your belief system and the readers may or may not be in alignment with each other. This is why compatibility matters with who you're choosing as a reader as well. I did a video on this before. It's about similar topic, about why it's needed to be compatible with your reader. Like, I'm a glass half full kind of a person, but if I'm reading for a glass half empty kind of a person, they're not going to see things from the perspective that I see them. So they may think that my reading's wrong, or they may interpret things a whole different way. They may completely hear something way different than what I actually said in their mind because of how they funnel things through. So hopefully all of that makes sense. I'm done rambling on. Doesn't look like anybody has any questions right now, so I'm gonna run. I do have some readings to do today, and I've got some energy today, so I'm gonna try to get a pick a card recorded for YouTube. Lula says hi, and I'll talk to you guys another time. Bye.